All right. We're live. Oh, people are coming in hot. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get started in about 3 minutes. Just want to get everyone a chance to get on in. All right, we had like 100 people register, so hopefully more than half show up. All right, what's going on, guys? A lot of our team members are here. Just wanted to thank everyone for coming. We could play music. Next time we'll play music. Hello, Mariana. You guys can type whatever questions you have into the chat. We'll see them, we'll monitor them. We're gonna try to keep the questions towards the end, unless if we're in the middle of discussing something that requires, you know, that works with the question that you're asking. If we're on that slide, we'll address your question at that time. Again, thank you everyone for joining us. Give us like 2 or 3 minutes for everyone to get in, and then we'll get started. Hi, Michelle. There's always the awkward part. We wait for everyone to get in and we have the awkward silence. It's okay. All right. So another couple minutes, let everyone get in here. Hey, Carolina. I want to thank my brother JD, he's on here. Who else we got on here? Mike Anderson, Michelle, Riley Smith in the house. Pretty excited to be doing this with you guys. Hey, Caro. Okay, again, you can type your questions in the Q&A. We'll try to get to all of them before it's over. We're gonna leave the questions towards the back end, and then if there's a question that comes in on a slide that we're on, if it pertains to what we're talking about, we'll go ahead and we'll address it. So I guess we'll just intro and just get started now, and then you know, people come in when they get a chance to. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, share screen. So here we go. So again, welcome to our Coral Gables Real Estate Report. We are super excited to spend the next hour with you guys. We're going to give you as much information as we possibly can pack into the next 45 minutes, and then we'll leave it open to questioning towards the end. My name is Guillermo Fresas, and I'm here with my colleague Tyree Nelson, who is joining us live from her palatial South Gables home. Hello, Tyreen.
Hello, thank you for that nice introduction. I am very excited to team up with you once again and to go over the stats, the Coral Gables stats, and kind of revisit some of the topics that we spoke about back in April. Yes,
so, okay, Tyreen, she's at home. I'm here at the Riley Smith Group headquarters in the Grove. And just to give you a little background, Tyreen, as I mentioned, she's a Coral Gables resident, and I myself was born and raised and currently reside in Coral Gables as well. So we have about 20 years of experience in real estate between the both of us, and we are humbly here to educate you and tell you what's been happening in the Gables market and what you can expect going forward. So over the course of this presentation, we're going to dive into the numbers, and our goal is to simplify this content to make it easy for you to understand. So we're going to start off with what had happened back in April. So let me just click here. We did a virtual buyer's presentation. So if we flash back to the lockdown in March, things started to ease up. In April, we were able to practice real estate, but there was a lot of questions, right? A lot of the things that were being discussed, as you see on the screen to your left, this is an actual screenshot from the presentation that we did on April 14th. That was exactly 6 months ago. We weren't sure about the accessibility of some of these homes. We knew that the vacant houses that were on the market would equal motivated sellers. but there was still a limited amount of houses that we could actually access. So that was very challenging for us as real estate agents and buyers who were trying to move on with their goals of buying a home at the time. And we also had some lending restrictions since the uncertainty was so staunch. We just couldn't, the lenders couldn't just give everyone these jumbo loans and do all the types of lending that they were used to because they weren't sure. So because of all that, there was a lot of consumer confidence. There was a lot of fear in the market. So our job at that point was to try to like educate and tell you guys what was going to happen and just ease the tension that everyone had. So if you remember that talk, you take a look at the slide on the right, and there was like these advantages. It was the presentation that we did was strictly towards the buyers. And we knew that there was motivation from sellers who had kept their houses on the market. And we strongly believed that because of the uncertainty, there were deals to be made. We went at it ad nauseum, talking about like, don't be afraid, jump into the market if your goals to buy a house, if you're pre-approved, and let's find a deal. And we saw a lot of houses that were on the market for quite a bit of time. We saw prices come down, and a lot of these buyers got really good deals. But we also told you that prices were going to continue to go up, and that we were afraid that we were going to have a flooded marketplace in the future with all these buyers. And we saw the inventory was dwindling down. We saw the inventory going down as all this time was happening. And we told you in April that experts had predicted, all the experts that we had been talking to throughout the course of the last 6 months. We were talking to agents in California and New York. We were talking to economists. Everyone had predicted that there was going to be an explosion in the real estate in the third quarter. So that's exactly what happened. Our team alone in the third quarter had 103 transactions for over $50 million in real estate. That is one hell of a third quarter. Most of the people that we were talking to, a lot of the realtors are experiencing that same type of activity with their business. So that was kind of like what we had talked about back in April. Tyreen, I want to toss it to you because I know that you've got some information that you could share with our viewers regarding this content that we just mentioned right now.
No, I think everything you said is exactly right. I think we didn't predict it, but the experts predicted it, and we brought it to light back in April. And everything has happened in the course that we said it was going to happen. And in general, as far as the economy goes, just from the recent numbers, unemployment is lower than expected now. And so some of the uncertainty, I think, on that end is easing off. 90% of the Americans are employed. I think September's number 7.9% is the unemployment rate. But some of that uncertainty, I think, is fading away. And I think while there's so a small amount of that, I think there's a little bit more certainty now in as far as related to home buying, that people are more certain as to what they want now. And I think that now we're seeing that across the board with the numbers that we're going to show you, because they want a home, and we're going to be able to show you that in the numbers now.
Terrific. All right, so I guess we'll jump into it. I guess before that, Tyreen, kind of give us the breakdown of how we're going to talk about all this stuff to give people a flow of our show here.
Yeah, I think that the simplest way is we're going to cover single family homes first. We're going to break those down by non-waterfront and waterfront properties, since there are two different segments of the Coral Gables market. And if we were to combine them, I think it would skew the numbers a little too much, and it wouldn't be as reliable for the audience. So we split those up to non-waterfront and waterfront. We also split condos out of there and gated communities. We're going to talk about gated communities separately, but they are included in the single family home numbers. And then we'll give you a few other little stats, and then we'll kind of put the whole picture together at the end. Yeah,
so definitely dry lots, waterfront lots. Waterfront lots represent about 12% of our real estate sales in Coral Gables. So, 88% of the homes are sitting on dry lots, and the waterfront houses in Coral Gables is some of the most expensive real estate in the state of Florida. So it does skew the numbers. So we'll jump into it here. So here we have a glimpse of the activity, and we've been talking ad nauseum about the active listings on the market. We've seen a decrease in it, and our inventory is extremely low. And this graph here shows that at this same time last year in Coral Gables, we had 416 listings. This is only single family homes on
Right, that's a 29% decrease from last year,
Yeah.
which I think is staggering, that number.
No, it's, and like I said, again, this is only non-waterfront dry lots, single family homes. This does not include any of the condos, and it does not include any of the waterfront properties. And as you can see here, most of this stuff is this, what you got to look at is the under million, right? So under a million, we saw a decrease in 10%. So that inventory that represented 31% of all the houses in Coral Gables is now down to 21%. That's showing us that prices are being driven up, and we're seeing a lot less homes under 1 million. And then you see a little bit of an uptick in all the other categories. 2 to 3 million had an increase, and so did the 3 million plus. So that's just a glimpse of the active listings. Anything to add here?
No, I mean, I think that's exactly right. I think the biggest indicator there is the under a million price point, how much of a drop there was. I mean, it was a 10%. So that's significant.
Yeah, a lot of that we saw very similar. Riley had mentioned it to it in his Coconut Grove report, how that $1 million market is dwindling, a lot less homes in Coconut Grove. So to see such a big decrease year after year in a city as massive as the Gables is quite shocking. So as you can see, that's going to be the tone of what we're talking about. Prices have been going up because of this limited supply. So here is a snapshot of the closed sales in the Gables over the last 10 years. When we had done this, we originally were going to have this report up until the end of September for continuity. But we had at that time 400 sales. And when we saw how many sales had gone up over the last 20 days, we had to bring it up because we had an extra 31 sales and an extra 20 something pending. So it shows that there's still much activity. And as you see with the pendings, let's just say that we close half of those pendings, we're going to surpass last year's closed sales numbers. And we had basically 3 months where the market was disrupted because of the government lockdown and the pandemic.
Yeah, and you can see even if we use the 2019 numbers and over the last 9 years there was a 16% increase in closed sales. So you can see across the board, Coral Gables has been pretty stable as far as closing, except for 2013, which was the year after the election. We notated the election years there. So you can kind of see if there was any difference there. But there wasn't much of a difference except for that 2013 year, which, there was a spike. And the same thing happened in the Coconut Grove numbers when we ran them. There was a spike in 2013, and then it basically leveled off. And I know some people are curious as to what the election year is going to do, because now we have the pandemic and the election year. But I mean, from everything the experts say and from all the data that we have, it really doesn't make much of a difference in the real estate market. Overall, there's normally, you see a drop in November, a very slight drop, like maybe 9%, but then it's not really a drop that's not going to be made up over time. It's actually just going to pick up in January. So it's like a little bit of the consumers are just hesitating a little bit, but then it picks up right in January. And it doesn't make much of an overall difference. So I don't think it's the difference that some people might think that there's some hesitation. It's just like a tiny little bit of a hesitation, and then it picks right back up.
Yeah, at least in the Gables, at least with what we can see here. This is specifically towards Coral Gables, and that is not showing us that the election year is really having a massive impact on the number of closed sales. And if you see in 2017, that was the year of Hurricane Irma, and we still had a pretty decent year in terms of the number of closed sales. So what it's showing us is that the Gables market can it could withstand cycles. It basically always stays stable, and that has shown true even after basically 3 months of a volatile market jumping right back up on pace to surpass last year's numbers. So here we have the pricing per square foot of non-waterfront homes. This is on average. So as you can see, every year since 2015, we've gone up pretty much. And then we had a huge bump up this year, 2020 year to date.
Yeah, we kind of had, you'll see from 15 to 16, it's a 5% increase. Then that next year, 1%, then it went into an 8%, then it went just to 1%, and now an 8%. And overall, From 2015 to 2020, over the last 5 years, we've seen a 10% increase across the board in price per square foot in those non-waterfront homes, which is it's a significant increase.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm gonna move it along a little bit here. So waterfront, this is on the waterfront, price per square foot. Now I'll go back so you can see it one more time. On a dry lot, average price per square foot, you're at $439. Average waterfront homes, $872 a foot. Waterfront homes generally, besides the fact that they're on the water, they're on larger lots, and we're seeing a lot of new construction in that category, which is why you're seeing such a bump up. But what's crazy is that from now, since last year, that spike is pretty significant. It's just showing us that there's a lot of money coming to Miami, and they're buying up a lot of this very expensive real estate. And we'll show some more stats throughout the course of this talk that shows what's been happening in the ultra luxury world here in Coral Gables.
Yeah, and you can see from 2015 to 2020, it's a 28% increase in price per square foot. Again, significant amount of an increase in 5 years.
Yep. Okay, non-waterfront average sale price. So the average sale price in Coral Gables right now is 1.175, almost 1.2. As you can see, it's up big time from last year, and it pretty much stays stable. 2017 was Irma, probably some sales fell through that year. We didn't get quite over $1 million in terms of average sale price, but it's very stable. And right now we're seeing a big increase since 2015 for sure.
Yeah, 15%. So
15% increase since 2015.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So a waterfront average sale price, again, look at that number, 2020, average sale price 5.9, last year 4.2. So again, we're gonna go into some of those numbers, but we've seen such high activity in the ultra premium. Homes over 10 million, homes over 20 million, even homes over 30 million have all happened over the course of the last 9 months. And that's driven up these waterfront values.
Yeah, I mean, look at 2015 versus 2020. I mean, it's 33%.
Wow, 33%. So the question is, where are these people coming from? And I think we're seeing a lot of domestic buyers that are looking for tax breaks in New York or California, the weather in New York, fear of COVID outbreak. And I think also a lot of people willing to spend the extra money on more space and luxurious space. A lot of money coming into Miami.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Okay, closed sales, single family homes. So this is going to show, it's kind of like the slide that we showed you with the inventory, only now this is closed sales. So this is showing where all the sales are coming from by price point. From 2015 to 2019, you're gonna see very subtle changes. It's when you go to 2020 where you're going to see the change from 15 to 20, where it's really going to shock you. And even from 20 to 19, it's going to be different. So here you see under $1 million, 60% of the Coral Gables market was under $1 million. Then in 2019, you saw a 2% decrease at 58%, and you saw an increase in the 1 to 2 million. Now, when I go to 2020, 52%. So we went from 60% under $1 million now to 52%. And an increase in the $1 to $2 million range, a little bump up in the 2 to 3, and also the plus 3 million. So it just shows you prices in Coral Gables are going up, and little by little, I think we're going to see that under $1 million go even more down, and going into 2021, I could see that happening as well. So that number could be even lower next year.
Yeah, I think even by the time we end the year, we're going to see it decreased even more. And it's, again, the same thing, because we run these numbers in other locations. So like Coconut Grove, which is it's comparable to Coral Gables as far as a luxury market. It's basically non-existent in Coconut Grove right now. Coral Gables is a bigger set of inventory. So, the numbers are a little bit different, but you're seeing the same kind of pace of a diminishing under $1 million segment.
Okay, so this is our rainbow of colors. So what we got here is non-waterfront averages by year, by price point, to give you an idea. So what happens when you look at under $1 million, you're looking at smaller homes, older homes, smaller lots, and everything just kind of gets enhanced as you move towards the plus 3 million, larger lots, waterfront, gated community. Well, not waterfront, because this is non-waterfront, but you're going to have homes in gated communities on dry lots that are very large, probably like about an acre or more when you're over 3 million, or a very extravagant house on a pretty good sized lot. Across the board, numbers are up. So, I mean, the ultra premium, the 3 million plus, you're at 645 a foot, and you were at 600 last year. This is non-waterfront.
Yeah.
This is a significant price increase. You have anything to add on this one, or should I move it along?
No, I mean, you could see though that the million to under 3 million, it's pretty close to the same price per square foot in that range. And then the under $1 million, is where you get a little bit of breathing room, a tiny bit.
Yeah. So here we go. Waterfront again, over $3 million, you're at $1,418 a foot. You are, more than doubling the $2 to $3 million price range.
I mean, but it's important to note there this is a smaller pool of inventory. So just the slightest sale or big sale can throw these numbers off. So I think we had 2 over $30 million sales.
There was 3 sales over $30 million and 2 sales over $20 million.
Right. And those were all in Gables Estates.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And we'll show you guys a map of that so you can see where all the activity is happening.
So yeah, but that's where that number's coming. Oh, this is my favorite slide here.
Okay, so then I'll let you start off with this slide then, because I know you're obsessed with it.
No, I think this one's good because it tells you basically a story of our market and how it works, at least for the most part. It's kind of changing a little bit during the pandemic, but what this shows you here is you'll see that 511 per square foot is the original price when the home hits the market. That's the original list price of this pending home, because this is a sample of all the pending closed homes. Then that same home sample size, it goes pending. They reduce their price over time. It becomes more attractive to the buyers. Now they go pending. They go pending at an average of $463 a square foot. But then you see when it closes, that it closes at $439 a square foot. So the number across the board, you can just see how our market operates. We have a big amount of room. I would say 10% at a minimum, to even in some cases 15 to 20% of a price discrepancy from what it lists to what it closes. And I think it's really interesting to see that number, and it's good for sellers to see that number. So and it helps with more realistic pricing. But in our market, not just in Coral Gables, this happens across the board in Miami, where you see the huge difference between the original list price and the actual final closed sale price. Sometimes we just look at the last listed price, which doesn't tell you the whole story. You kind of have to start from when it was originally listed to be able to see what the difference is in list versus actual closed sale price.
Yeah. So I think it just goes to show you that no matter what the market, if you're priced too high, it's just you're not going to sell. I mean, if you've got a special home totally updated and someone sees the value in paying for that premium, sure. But for the most part, when you're running comparables, everyone likes to compare their house to the best and the newest, and their house isn't that. And that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing they're unrealistic about their pricing from the beginning. And in this market, I think we'll see it on the next slide, because they're seeing the inventory levels so low, and they're talking to their friends who are selling their houses in a couple of weeks, and they're like, okay, well, let me go after my number. And I don't think you run too much of a risk. Normally, you don't want to do that as a listing agent, because you don't want to be chasing the market. But we are so low on inventory that when I switch over to this slide, I think that's okay. If you're listing at $548 a foot and you're selling at $439 a foot, with the inventory levels and the way the market is right now, you don't lose much. I feel like if in 30 days you're not getting an offer on your home, you got to adjust pricing. But why not swing for the fences if you think you've got something special?
Yeah, I mean, but it's significant. I mean, so that everyone understands that 548, that's current listings right now, active homes on the market. Their average price per square foot, and this is non-waterfront because we didn't include the waterfront in here, but 548 a square foot is what the homes are actively listed right now. And you just see the progression there. And I think it's a little higher now. I think for some of the reasons you said, because people now are seeing it's more of a seller's market. Um, and in some cases, sellers are getting exactly what they asked for. Their ask is what they're getting offers for, if not over that. But it depends on the segment of the market you're in. If you're under the $1 million segment, or if you're over the $3 million segment, or somewhere in between. The under $1 million segment is seeing more of that, of getting what you're asking for or above in some cases. Not so much in the higher price point segment.
Now, when you're in the lower price point, you're dealing with a lot less cash buyers, which means the houses are subject to appraisals. So that's probably what you're seeing also. Someone willing in this market, if you're a buyer and there's multiple offers on a lot of these properties under $1 million, you got to give asking or above. And then the appraisal will eventually set everyone straight, because these houses are not just appraising. I mean, I think appraisers are becoming, they're aware of what's happening here, and people are willing to pay premiums for homes. But at the end of the day, they're worth what the appraisers say they're worth, and the banks will lend based on that. So I think that's what's happening also. A lot of these properties, they get pended at 463, and then you got to adjust pricing if it doesn't appraise. So
yeah, but I mean, I think it's a great statistic to see how it actually happens, because most people don't see that progression.
yeah, I'm gonna move along. Okay, so I do want, before we get into the North Gables and South Gables, I want to answer a question coming in from our friend Anthony here, who said, what are the factors going into the specific uptick in price per square foot on non-waterfront homes specifically? And I guess it's just a desire to switch living arrangements, right? Like we've talked about this, you and I offline, about how everyone wants some sort of an upgrade. Everyone's looking to make a change. If you lived in a condo, you might want to be in a home. If you were in a 3-2, you might want to be in a 4-3. So I see that as like lifestyle. And now that the world is changing, your house is now your gym, it's your kids' school, it's your movies, it's everything. So I think everyone just needs some sort of an upgrade. That's what I see as the driving force to what's happening, at least in our market. And people are willing to pay for it. That's why you're seeing the price per square foot kind of jump up, because a lot of these buyers are fighting for the same houses. We have situations that are occurring where a client or a real estate agent on our team will make an offer on a house, and the listing agent tells that agent saying, no thanks, I already got 20 offers. This is really happening.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let's get into North versus South Gables. So we want to break it down so you guys can see how we kind of map it out. Everything on the west side of US 1 is North Gables. I know how funny that sounds. And everything on the east side of US 1 is considered South Gables. So what you're going to see in North Gables is more of the smaller homes, Mediterranean style. Most of the historic homes in the Gables are located in the North Gables. Downtown Gables is also in the North Gables. That's where you're going to see a lot of the condo activity. When you cross US 1, larger lots, bigger homes, and you're going to see most of our, not all of our waterfront, because there are some North Gables homes that are on the Coral Gables waterway, but 90% of the homes that are on the water are in South Gables, as well as all of the gated communities. So, excuse me, here's our heat map. So basically, here are where all the sales in Coral Gables have come from since January 1st. I'm going to break it down a little bit to give you guys an understanding of what we're looking at. So when you start looking down H Street all the way to the right of your screen, you're going to see how I broke it up into quadrants. So from H Street to Coral Way, you've got 2 quadrants there. And the closer you get to H Street, the more inexpensive the home. And you're going to see a less price per square foot on those houses. But because the prices are the most attractive, that's where you're going to see most of the sales. So you see 62 and 49 in both of those quadrants, basically from 57th Avenue down to Lejeune Road. As you travel more towards US 1, now your next couple quadrants are between Coral Way and Bird. you've got a lot of activity there, and you're seeing the price jump up. You're already, you know, at $1.2 million and $1.5 million, depending on the quadrant. A lot of the houses in this quadrant are going to be on the golf course, on like by Riviera, by the Biltmore, Granada Golf Course. So you've got your North Greenway, South Greenway, a lot of, you know, very prestigious homes on very large lots. And then right under there is a little bit of the same. As you start scooting over more, you're going to see houses that are more similar to the ones directly on the other side of US 1 in that triangle where there's 52 sales. A lot of the homes here are all different. Just for some reason, the houses on the other side of US 1, they tend to go for more. But a lot of the houses are similar. They're similar lots, similar size, similar style. When you cross US 1, now this is where you get into the school districts that are the most desirable. You've got your Ransom, Gulliver, Sunset Elementary. So we know that real estate is driven by school zones, and a lot of families find this to be a very desirable area to live, why you're going to see more of the prices go up. So that triangle where it says 52 is like the sweet spot of South Gables. That's where Tyreen lives. And it is probably the most stable, you know, area of the Gables market. It's like old reliable. You're still under $500 a foot, and at 1.2, that's a manageable price point because the location is so great. You're literally touching almost all three communities that we call the Tri-City, which is Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, and South Miami. As you start moving south, you're going to look at the 9, the 18, and 11. These are waterfront communities. So on the 11, you've got basically Edgewater Drive down that's the Sunrise Harbor, $2.8 million average price. And then next to that, you have Coco Plum and Tahiti Beach. You're at 4.6. So we got to break these down because even though they're gated communities, they're not all the same. Look at the 9 right there next to the Coco Plum. That's 9 sales in Gables Estates. Average sale price, $20,700,000. You're at $1,955 per square foot. Like we said before, 5 sales over 20 million, 3 over 30 million. Big time what's going on in Gables Estates. Right above that, you've got this little segment in the Gables that runs through towards, as you get more south, that's very similar to what's happening in that triangle. 7 sales there. And then as you move forward, you've got a couple other gated communities. You've got Hammock Oaks, you got Snapper Creek, Gables by the Sea, all the way down to Kings Bay. And basically this gives you an idea of the landscape of what's happening in Coral Gables where. If we'll be able to share this slide with you guys. A lot of people like this slide. Kind of gives you an idea what property values are going for in certain parts of the Gables. The Gables is massive. It's nothing like the Grove. I mean, it's just huge. I think we have 21,000 residences in total. That doesn't separate condos or single families, but we know that in the Grove you only have 3,000 single family homes. So that's a snapshot of what's happening in the Gables with sales this year. Tyreen, I know I've ranted. Do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, I think you covered it all. I mean, you have obviously the higher price per square feet in the South Gables, but you have more inventory in the North Gables, so it ends up evening out. So you have more sales in the North Gables and less sales in the South, but they were higher price per square foot because you have all the waterfront, most of the waterfront communities there.
Yeah. Okay. So I will move it along. So a question that people ask is, how long would it take to sell my house? Right now, we are at 190 days. That reflects 6.5 months. So that's pretty good considering the price points that we're looking at here. Obviously, when we're talking about those high price homes, they're sitting on the market maybe for a year or two, depending on the circumstances of each individual home and the community that it's in. But on average, 6.5 months on market, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the luxury homes have more of an advantage in that sense where they have the luxury, for lack of a better word, to keep it on the market longer and wait for the price that they want. So that's why those numbers are normally higher.
Yeah. At that, I mean, even with the uptick that we're seeing in the new buyer pool, that's we've been seeing here in the Gables. Also, there's not that many people that can afford a $30 million house. So it's going to take longer to identify the right buyer for that home. And these deals are pretty much always cash.
This next slide, I think is a good one to kind of see the overall picture of what's been going on here. pre and post pandemic. So right there, you see the months of supply of inventory. When we started the year, we were at 13 and a half months of inventory. So we were definitely in a buyer's market. There's no doubt about that. And then you see what a healthy market normally is. In most markets, it's 4 to 6 months. You know, here it's 5 to 6. You see what a healthy market is. And then you see our numbers through the end of September, where we have I think it was 6.6 months of supply. So it puts us right squarely into a healthy market, and in some cases here, but seller's market, because we're seeing that across the board. But it's a really, it's the perfect image as to what happened. It's the quick shift in just 3-4 months from a buyer's market to a seller's market. And I think all the agents are experiencing that, not just in Coral Gables.
At this rate, so basically what we're doing is we're selling 43 homes a month. So to give you an idea of months of supply, it would take, if you go back to January, 12 months of supply, considering the inventory that we had at the rate in which we were selling, it would have taken 12 months to get rid of all of our inventory if no new homes were introduced to the market. Now we're at 6.5 months. At 43 sales a month, we have 6.5 months of inventory. It would take 6.5 months to sell all of our inventory if no new inventory was introduced to the market. What the message is that if you're a seller, there's never been a better time. And you know what, let's not say that. There probably has been, but right now is a very interesting time, because what we're seeing is with the sales activities catching up to last year, we're gonna have a really good year, but it's not a record-breaking year either. We've had record-breaking months. So we still see the same activity, but the inventory is as low as we've seen it in a long time. We're 30% down. So if I was a seller, I would really consider taking advantage of that.
Well, I mean, we're seeing the same amount of sales, but we've had a significant amount of appreciation. So this is the time to take advantage of that. If you're ever going to take advantage of it, or thinking to upsize or anything, now you're going to be getting a little bit more from your sale, which can go towards your down payment for that larger home, which, you know, everyone wants more space now.
Right. And then with the interest rates where they're at right now, it's the perfect time to consider upgrading. So we've seen a lot of younger families do that. Younger families, we've represented the buyers and the sellers on multiple transactions who the older family is looking to sell, move to a condo. The younger family is saying, man, we might be 3 or 4 years away, but it's a perfect time right now. We can get top dollar for our home, and we can borrow money for nothing and do the upgrade now. So I think we've seen a lot of savvy buyers and pretty excited about the moves that our clients have made because they've been listening to us. So again, if you're a seller and you're interested in taking advantage, we'd love to talk to you more about this and seeing how we can maybe position your home to get you top dollar. Little sales plug there. So here we go. I love this slide. I know it's hard to follow, so I'm going to try to explain it. So basically, it kind of shows how Miami real estate looks year to year. So I know that it's fine lines, but if you see the orange, which represents 2020, in April and May, it really thins out comparative to all the other months, all the other years. All the other years, that's usually our busiest time. So we usually have more closings in the summer, but right before the summer. But then what happened was everything got pushed back. So our June, July, August, September have been pretty much record breaking. I mean, we haven't seen activity like this in a very, very long time. And I just don't see it really ending. I think maybe the holidays could possibly slow us down, but I don't really have proof that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen based on everything we're seeing.
Yeah. Okay. So again, if you guys want any of these slides, we'll be able to email you this report. Just let us know that you're interested, and we'll get it over to you. So a little bit about the Coral Gables communities. These are the gated communities. We've got about 13 different communities. We just wanted to break them down for you to give you an idea. Not a lot of people are familiar with all these, but these are where the highest price sales are usually at. And they're very desirable neighborhoods, depending on what you're looking for. So here we go. The highlight points here is a lot of activity in Gables by the Sea. There was 24 sales. And then we saw obviously the 9 sales at Gables Estates. Pretty amazing year that they had there with those 5 sales over 20 million. And then Coco Plum and Tahiti Beach combined had 18 sales. So in Coco Plum, you're looking at $4.5 to $5 million price points, but in Tahiti Beach, waterfront houses, 15, 20 million. A couple houses on dry lots selling around 8 million. So those are kind of like I think the important ones to talk about, unless you think I should highlight anything else, Tyreen? No?
No, no, I think those are the big sales. So,
Okay, great. So average sale price by gated community, look at Gables Estates, $20 million on average. And then you can see here, Coco Plum, 4.5 million. And then other ones that I could mention, that I mentioned before, Gables by the Sea, 1.8. For 24 sales, you can see that the property values in Gables by the Sea is going up. That's a lot of sales and have an average price point of 1.8. Usually Gables by the Sea was the place that you could go to get, you know, an affordable waterfront home. You'd sacrifice location, not that it's a bad location, but you're so far south that you'd settle there. And now with the prices where they're at, I mean, they're going to be at 2 million before you know it. And that's pretty expensive to be all the way down there.
yeah, and you'll see like the Deering Bay, those were just condo sales. There were no single family sales. And then Journey's End, we only had one sale, which dated back to July of 2019. So we used that number, and that was the $13.9 million sale.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Those right now.
So this is a fun little thing that we did. So you want to know what your money can get you in Coral Gables. We basically took 3 different segments of the market and kind of showed you some houses that you could afford. We did the most least expensive, the medium price point, and the most expensive. Now, before I get in here, let me see if I have any questions. Check it out. Okay, no, so far we're good. Something on the chat. Okay. Oh, are these numbers what you guys sold or all the houses sold? These are houses that are all sold on the multiple listing service. These are not just our houses. This is all homes in Coral Gables since January 1st till today. So what is the reason sellers to sell? Are they relocating to another state? Do you know some? Well, I think we've mentioned that a lot of people are looking for just different situations because their lifestyles have changed for the most part, but I'm sure we can get into that towards the end. Just wanted to make sure I didn't miss any questions pertinent to what we were talking about at the moment. So here we go. What can you get in Coral Gables for your money? Right here, you've got 2 homes. These are the lowest price closed sales in Coral Gables all year. The first one is 228 Washington Drive. This is a land deal. That house is pretty much uninhabitable. It's in a segment, believe it or not, in basically Coconut Grove. There's 2 pieces of Coral Gables in Coconut Grove, which is right after Battersea South, all the way to Edgewater Drive, and this pocket in West Grove that's basically a little triangle that hugs US 1. So this is technically a Coral Gables house, even though I think a lot of people would think it's a Coconut Grove house. This house is going to end up being knocked down, I'm sure. It's a land value deal. And the second one that you're going to see is another one of those fringe properties. This is Little Gables. If you saw on our heat map, there's a little block that extends to the other side of 8th Street. This house is on Southwest 6th Street, but it's still technically City of Coral Gables. This is a much more complete house. I mean, it's very small. It's 4 bedrooms and less than 1,000 feet, so it's going to be pretty tight in there. This house sold for $330,000. Again, it's on Southwest 6th Street. You're not going to drive through it and really think it's Coral Gables. It's going to be something totally different, but technically, City of Coral Gables.
Yeah. Next
Price point. So this is more or less the median house in Coral Gables. It really is a story of 2 houses. This is kind of like what your options could be like if you were a buyer in the Gables. So the first one is 611 San Antonio Avenue. This house is located in North Gables. It's on a 9,000 plus square foot lot, and it's a 2,700 square foot home. 1.1 Old Spanish. So this house is going to need more work. It's, you know, you see the floors and the outside. Most of the house needs a little bit of work, but it's a cute home. Depending on your taste, you might want something like that that's a little bit more charming. Or if you look on the other side of US 1 in South Gables, 1226 South Alhambra Circle is a more complete house. Had more updates. The lot's bigger, 15,000 square feet. House is a little smaller, but that's basically the tale of 2 homes and what you can get for your money around 1.1 in the Gables. The next one is the highest closed sales 2020 year to date. I will highlight first 21 Casarina Concourse. That is the most expensive house sold in Miami this year. And it's basically a land value deal. There are no pictures on the MLS of the home. And this house is, this lot is so massive that home, it just doesn't work there. You can tell that there's gonna be something built on this house. So I thought it was funny because the lowest sale was a land value deal, and the highest sale what looks like a land value deal as well. So the other house that was the second most expensive home sold in the Gables was 150 Arvida Parkway. Beautiful house, totally redone, almost 12,000 square feet, over acre lot on the water, 33 million bucks.
Yeah, the Casa Arena one was out with 5 acres, so a large lot.
Okay, so moving along to the condo market. Let me just get to my thing. All right. Anything we need to add about the condo market before we jump into it? I mean, we didn't spend a lot of time on the condo market. I mean, I think the general consensus in real estate right now is that people are trying to stay out of condos.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna see that. Can you unblur your screen? For some reason, it looks blurry on my end.
My screen is blurry?
Yep.
Is that better?
Well, maybe it's just me.
I don't know.
The
Is it okay?
feedback is blurry.
Well, hold on a second. Is it that bad? Can you see the presentation?
Yeah, maybe it's just on my end.
Let me see. Does anyone experience a blurry screen?
Okay, maybe it's just on my end.
It looks
No, it
clear.
looks fine now.
It looks clear. Thanks, Megan. All right.
Sorry.
Okay. So Coral Gables condo market, general consensus, I think, is people are trying to stay away from condos. They don't want the tight spaces. They don't want to share elevators. They don't want to share amenities. These are communities where people have to share a lot of spaces and they don't want to do it. With that being said, if you're looking for a bargain, that's where it's going to happen. So if in April we were telling everyone, you know, get out there, make offers on homes, there's deals to be made, the uncertainty can play in your favor. Some people took advantage of that. Now, if you want that same type of bargain, this is where you got to look. You got to look in the condo market. It eventually will bounce back. People will open up to it again. But right now, I just don't see it rebounding. And I just think that maybe you could maybe make a good deal. Maybe if you're in a condo and you can't afford a home, maybe you can afford a larger condo and try to make a deal with some of this inventory that's out there. So unless you have something to add, I'm going to jump into it.
No, just that there is opportunity, which you're saying.
Yeah, so as you can see here, unlike what's happening in the single family market, if we were to close, I mean, basically all of our pending inventory, which we know it's not all going to close, we still wouldn't hit last year's number. So, and we don't expect to close all of them. So yeah, the sales are down. Most of the activity is in the single family home market. Because we just didn't think the condo market was something we had to dive too deep in, what we did here was we kind of broke down where most of the sales were happening, just to give you an idea where the activity is. So we took every condo in the Gables that had 5 sales or more. So you can see here, we've got the Villa Capri condo, David William. These are all going to be more like run down. Water's Edge and Gables Waterway Towers is on Edgewater Drive. There's great value there. Take a look at the pricing. Water's Edge is at $257,000. And the Gables Waterway condos, that's 90 Edgewater, is just over 400,000. So to be in that kind of location, those maintenance fees in those buildings aren't that crazy. You're looking like at 75 cents a foot. And then when you get to Deering Bay, that's the more ultra premium. Biltmore Park is new construction by MG developer in North Gables. That all is really nice product that's selling at a much higher price point. 10 Aragon also has good activity. And then if you look at Puerto de Palmas and 1300 Ponce, you're getting more of like the newer construction, luxurious doorman, more amenities, those types of buildings. So that's what's happening really in the condo market. If you guys have anything specifically that you want to know about what's going on in the condo market, you can go ahead and let us know. Someone's telling me it's blurred.
And we didn't break it down by price per square foot because each building is a little bit different. You have all kinds of buildings, waterfronts, like you were saying, the Edgewater ones that are older ones. So it was impossible to really give you an accurate price per square foot there. So it's best to just do.
What's funny is that Gables Club barely didn't show up here. So between both buildings and Gables Club, which is some of the higher end inventory for condos, especially waterfront, it didn't hit our list because there wasn't that many sales there. Okay, so we are close to wrapping this thing up. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We will finish off with kind of like the impact of the real estate market with COVID, and then kind of jump into 2021 and answer some of your questions. So Tyreen, let's talk about how the coronavirus has impacted the market. I think one of the things that we've made pretty clear is everyone's looking for a lifestyle change. Homes have become more than just where you go to sleep. You're living in your houses, you're in there longer, you're working for them, they're your office, they're your gym, they're your kids' school, they're everything. So I think that's the major impact that we're seeing. No one wants to get caught in a lockdown again and be stuck in a house that they don't love.
No, I completely agree. And it's not only indoor space, they're looking for outdoor space. And it's something that we've seen is that the buyers are looking obviously for larger home, and there's been a steady increase in equity, which makes it more possible for some buyers to go into the larger home, you know, that were hesitant because they have more equity now in their current home, and now they can get into the market, into the larger home where they'll have more space and more outdoor space as well.
Yeah, for sure. And then I guess another impact that it had on the real estate market is appreciation, right? We've talked about this. So prices have gone up. You've seen it in every single segment of the market. Even if you look at that last heat map, you're looking at the houses that are closer to 8th Street in the $800,000 range. I think we're gonna continue to see that because again, the supply and demand factor. There's not enough supply and there's a lot of demand. So I think we're gonna continue to see that. And like we've discussed, people are not overpaying. They're maybe paying a premium. We probably have been a much more undervalued market than people actually think about. We've been talking forever about Miami being a top 10 luxury market globally, and our prices are nowhere near some of these other cities like New York or San Francisco or even Chicago. So it's kind of like, you know, the impact has been basically the perfect storm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we talked about the perfect storm of, you know, being locked down and people reevaluating the spaces that they needed or wanted. At least here, the buyers coming, the out of state domestic buyers coming into our market, which I think had an impact, and the appreciation and I know it had an impact on the appreciation and the low inventory because they came in. It was basically a fresh new set of eyes that came into our market that saw these homes in a different light than our local buyers, who I think what I call is they had inventory fatigue during this time because they had seen the same inventory. They were being picky because remember, it was a buyer's market, like we explained before at the beginning of the year. So they were being a little more picky on the homes. And when these northern buyers came in, they didn't see that. This was a fresh market to them. The prices were spectacular for them, and they got everything they wanted. The bigger space, they got away from the up north. They got great weather, great schools, everything that they wanted. And now the local buyers are trying to come into the market and compete with those other buyers. And I think all of that combined led to the perfect storm in prices appreciating and the inventory just being gobbled down by the buyers in the market. It's pretty amazing. And one thing I did notice is, we talked about this, is because I represent a lot of buyers and sellers, I have the benefit of seeing both mindsets of sellers and buyers. The buyers during this time, post-pandemic, well, we're still in the pandemic, but post-lockdown, is that they were a little more forgiving in the homes. Whereas before in January, when they had so much inventory, that pickiness level, I think it prevented them from making going on a contract under a house that would have been perfect for them. And they might have missed out because they weren't as forgiving. Now what they care about more is the space. Does they have the square footage they need? And then they can forgive the other things. Like maybe it needs a new kitchen or it needs an updated bathroom, where before they just wanted turnkey and they couldn't look beyond that. And now they're looking at these homes in a new light where, okay, this has the space we need. It has a backyard, it has a pool. We can do with the other updates that they weren't willing to do in the past.
Yep, I agree. And then one thing that we'll share with you, just to give you an idea of like the pricing and what's happened in the market. We have a listing that had gone through a couple of realtors before, and that house was on the market for 2 years, and it didn't sell. Then after it was rented, it got put back on the market at a higher number and had multiple offers. The same house, because of what you're saying. Buyers are willing to be less picky, and it's like right square footage, right location, I'm gonna take it. And
right, that home was always a great home, but our buyers just were not seeing it. And as soon as all this happened, now it's like, oh my gosh, this is a double lot. This home has a pool. This home has a 2-car garage. This home is 3,000 square feet in a great neighborhood. Now it's like they open their eyes and they're like, oh my God, we've been missing out on this. But now, had they made that decision, a year ago, they could have gotten it for a lot less. But, that hesitation, not being as forgiving, helped the sellers. The sellers are happy about it.
Yeah, and part of the perfect storm that we're talking about is also something that I think we mention all the time, but we haven't spent that much time talking about it, is interest rates remain at an all-time low. So, if you're a seller and you're on the fringe, you're not sure if your house would stand up to the market, or maybe you just want to upgrade your own home because you're super happy, you could refi and, do the improvements, or possibly use be advantageous, and these low interest rates upgrade your home. So it's a perfect storm with the interest rates, the inventory. I mean, sellers are going to really do well, I think, going into 2021, which is a seamless transition into what we can expect moving forward. So this is the Riley Smith Express. We are looking forward to 2021. I think if I were to make a prediction, I think that we've been right every step of the way, and it's not because we have a crystal ball. We spend time researching and talking to all the right people, and I think that this is going to continue. I think the economy is dependent on real estate.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the housing market is going to continue to fuel the economy right now, and it's maintaining its strength. So I don't think that's slowing down, at least in our market, anytime soon. And I think from everything we've talked about with other agents across the country, they're seeing the same statistics. So
yeah. Okay. So I mean, that's pretty much what we've got for you right now, right? I think that's the end of our show. So we've got a couple questions that have come in. We'll go ahead and answer some of them now. We really wanted to keep this to 1 hour, so we got about 5 minutes for questions. So I'm seeing a question here that says, I sell today, where do I buy tomorrow? Obviously, people are scared, Tyreen, of basically, if the market is so out of whack and I can get a good number for my home, where does that end up leaving me? Where do I go? And I think we've mentioned it a couple times here about being able to upgrade, right? Take advantage of the low interest rates and get a loan and upgrade your house, right? I mean, maybe if you're an empty nester, a condo wouldn't be such a bad idea for you, because you can get a real bargain, get top dollar for your house, and maybe not spend all the money and buy a very nice condo. Maybe put the money in the stock market. I'm not sure, but there are options for you. There are options for you. They're asking here what condo fees typically go for. So that depends on the building, right?
I think typically, as long as it's under, I mean, the average is probably under $1, probably like 90 cents. I think in the Gables, we've seen anywhere from 45 cents to $1. And it depends on the age of the building, the amenities it has. There's a lot of factors that play into that.
Yeah, I'm seeing people ask about when's the best time to list and certain things about their homes. I've got something on that. So here's what I've been thinking, because we waste a lot of time with managing a transaction, and sellers put a lot of effort, time, and energy to make their houses available to show, and they have certain expectations. And then all of a sudden we're under contract, and then your house has some issues with the inspection. It might have mold, termites. I mean, we're dealing with this all the time. And I think if you wanted to take the best advantage for this market, is do an inspection on your home. Like right before you list it, see what's wrong with it first, so you don't get clubbed during the inspection period and they try to beat you down on price. Put the house in the best position. And that's what we recommend as listing agents, is making sure that we can position this house perfectly on the MLS and through our marketing channels to put the house in the best light so we can procure multiple offers. So I think there's some stuff. And if you guys have more questions about that, you should give us a call for sure, because we can help you. We do like a pre-listing presentation and kind of show you the things that we think that you need to handle, just based on all the feedback we're getting from all of our buyers and all of our listings. So that's that. Any other questions here? I don't think that we do, and we're heading into about an hour. So I guess, Tyreen, if you have any parting shots, now's your time. Again, guys, we're gonna go ahead and have this available for you upon request. Send us an email and we'll get this over to you. And if not, we're going to be sharing a lot of this data through social media and all of our channels through the course of the next couple months.
No, I mean, thank you for joining us tonight. And if there's anything that we didn't answer, obviously reach out to us, and hopefully you left here learning a little bit more about the Coral Gables market as we see it today than you did before.
Great. Great. Okay, guys, thank you very much. And we'll see you on the other side. Thanks again for joining. Bye.